Procedure to remove engine from the vehicle. 1. Preparation. Before you begin, make sure you have all the necessary tools and equipment, including an engine hoist, jack stands, wrenches, sockets, screwdrivers, pliers, and a drain pan. 2. Disconnect the battery. Use a wrench to loosen the battery terminal nut. Be sure to disconnect the negative terminal first. This will help to prevent sparks. If the battery terminals are corroded, use a wire brush to clean them before disconnecting the cables. Be careful not to touch the positive and negative battery terminals together. This can create a spark. Then remove the positive battery cable from the terminal. 3. Removing the hood. Pull the hood release lever to release the hood latch. Open the hood and locate the hood hinges. Loosen the bolts that secure the hood hinges to the vehicle. Once the bolts are loose, carefully lift the hood off of the vehicle. If you have a hood prop rod, insert it into the designated holes on the hood and the vehicle to prop the hood open. 4. Remove the air cleaner and label all wires and vacuum lines. Locate the air cleaner assembly. This is typically located on top of the engine. Loosen the clamps or bolts that secure the air cleaner assembly to the engine. Remove the air cleaner assembly from the engine. Locate all of the wires and vacuum lines that are connected to the engine. Use a marker to label each wire and vacuum line with its corresponding location on the engine. 5. Drain the engine oil and coolant. Locate the engine oil drain plug. Place the drain pan under the drain plug. Loosen the drain plug. Allow the engine oil to drain into the pan. Replace the drain plug and tighten it with a wrench. Locate the engine coolant drain plug. Place the drain pan under the drain plug. Loosen the drain plug. Allow the engine coolant to drain into the pan. Replace the drain plug and tighten it with a wrench. 6. Remove the radiator. These are the large hoses that connect the radiator to the engine. Carefully remove the radiator hoses from the radiator. Locate the radiator mounting bolts. These are the bolts that secure the radiator to the vehicle. Use a wrench or socket to loosen the radiator mounting bolts. 7. Remove the distributor and spark plug cables. Carefully remove the distributor cap from the distributor. Locate the spark plug cables. These are the wires that connect the distributor to the spark plugs. Grasp the spark plug cable boot by the boot, not the wire itself. Twist and pull the spark plug cable boot off of the spark plug. 8. Remove the alternator and accessory wiring. Disconnect the alternator and accessory wires from the alternator and accessories. Remove the alternator and accessory wiring from the vehicle. 9. Remove the heater hoses and ground strap. Gently pull the heater hoses away from the engine. Locate the ground strap on the engine. Remove the ground strap from the engine. With the heater hoses and ground strap removed, the engine is now free to be removed from the vehicle. 10. Bleed fuel system pressure. Place a rag around the Schrader valve to catch any fuel that may spray out. Use a small screwdriver or other pointed object to depress the Schrader valve. Fuel will spray out of the valve. Allow the fuel to flow until it stops. Release the Schrader valve and replace the cap. 11. Remove and plug the fuel line. Gently pull the fuel line connectors away from the fuel tank and the engine. Fuel will spill out of the fuel line. Be sure to have a rag or container on hand to catch the fuel. Use a fuel line plug to plug the end of the fuel line. This will help to prevent fuel from spilling out of the line. 12. Remove the intake manifold and valve covers. Remove the intake manifold bolts. Carefully lift the intake manifold off the engine. Remove the valve cover bolts. Carefully lift the valve covers off the engine. 13. Remove exhaust components. Locate the exhaust manifold. Disconnect the oxygen sensor from the exhaust manifold. Remove the bolts or nuts that secure the exhaust manifold to the engine. Carefully remove the exhaust manifold from the engine. 14. Determine whether to remove the transmission. In general, It is not necessary to remove the transmission to remove the engine from the vehicle. However, there are some cases where it may be beneficial or even necessary to do so. Factors to consider. Vehicle design. Some vehicles are designed in such a way that the engine and transmission are tightly coupled together. In these cases, it may be difficult or impossible to remove the engine without first removing the transmission. Engine size and weight. Larger and heavier engines can be difficult to maneuver around the transmission. In these cases, removing the transmission can make it easier to remove the engine. Removing the engine. 15. Remove the engine mounts. Locate the engine mounts. Use a wrench to loosen the engine mount bolts. Remove the engine mounts. 16. Lift the engine out of the vehicle. Attach a lifting chain to the engine. Attach the engine crane to the engine. Use the appropriate lifting points on the engine. Use an engine hoist to lift the engine out of the vehicle. Be sure to attach the crane securely. Raise the engine slightly.